Alright guys, it's Kremp again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far after the Esports World Cup concludes, we are expecting major Rostermania to hit the Call of Duty League yet again, and Dashy reckons it's going to involve some pretty major teams, implying that the Los Angeles Thieves, just next door to the OpTic guys, are making serious changes after the World Cup if things do not go to plan, especially if FaZe were to blow it up and players were to be on the market. Despite Thieves topping the list this season in terms of the season standings and winning 2 events, failing to win the World Championship in the way that they did, if they can't bounce back at the World Cup, is going to make for a very interesting Rostermania indeed. Dashy says, OpTic aren't going to get involved, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Just wanted to start here. We mentioned Karma earlier today with the coaching stuff, but it was of course his birthday. Dashy says, whole roster born in July. What's going on there? Some big chals as well over the last few days. We know that Illy's been talking about returning if the new game is good. He had a $2,000 pot chal against S&D Dylan, and he won an $1,800 pot chal with Illy, Huke, and Vic against Proloot, Spart, and Gwinn. And then they re-chaled again with TJ instead of Gwinn. So, yeah, pretty cool to see. I don't know, like, search and destroyed chals are back, right? I'm not saying the seed is back, but it wasn't long ago that, like, nothing was happening at all. There was no H, there was no chals, there was just nothing. And Illy's back to save the search and destroy seed, maybe. Is he back to play the new game? Well, it depends if it's going to be any good. We know that it's, of course, Black Ops 7 this year. There was a rumour that Black Ops 7 is going to come out on about the 14th of November. That is quite late, really, right? Because in the last few years, we've been used to maybe an end of October launch or very early November. I think back in the day, it was more commonly a little bit later into November. If I remember correctly, I think BO2 was like the 11th of November, something like that. Actually, I just checked and it was the 13th of November. So, you know, that's not exactly unusual for it to be kind of middle of November, but it would always be nice for it to launch a little bit earlier, to be honest, but it's always around that time. It's going to be Sledgehammer's game. And obviously nowadays in the COD scene, certainly from the competitive perspective, there's quite a lot of optimism around Sledgehammer games because they have delivered a solid title of Modern Warfare 3. They actually know how to make good maps, which is a bit of a positive as well. But it's not going to be Advanced Warfare 2. There was a rumour that it could be Advanced Warfare 2 for 2027, a proper return to jetpacks. But apparently not. It's going to be a different game, a brand new sub-franchise. So they're not going to bother with Vanguard again. They're going to try and start something new. Is this a great idea? I don't know. It's a modern era game. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. We've done it again. I don't know. I think the future games are always more fun, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. But I guess after BO7, maybe they want to take a little bit of a step back. Maybe I understand. But apparently it's going to be not Advanced Warfare 2, 2027, no jetpacks. Movement's going to be a big focus. I don't know if they're going to keep some of the same ideas as Black Ops 7, probably yes. No zombies, which is interesting. I'm not really a zombies man, so it doesn't bother me. If you put more resources into developing good maps for competitive, that's what I'm interested in. But there may be a focus on martial arts within the gameplay, such as karate kicks or chops. So what are we doing, man? What are we talking about here? So Ghost Hope says, heard it wasn't Advanced Warfare 2 for a while now, and the more I think about it, I'm glad that it's not. We've had Modern Warfare 2, 3, BO6, BO7, Modern Warfare 4, because that's going to be Infinity Ward's game after BO7, right? So this, we're talking here about COD 2027, not even COD 2026, and then of course this year's 2025. So, you know, they're cooking something up anyway. Time to switch it up, do something new. Sledgehammer will find a way to make the game stand out. We shall see about that. But yeah, that's the rumour basically of the day on that front. And look, who knows? A jetpack's going to ever come back? Maybe not, and maybe that's okay. With the maps that we have nowadays, with tactical sprint, with the Warzone stuff, maybe it's never going to happen in the way that we dreamed that it might a few years ago. But let's talk about the Esports World Cup. These are the power rankings that we put together at Breaking Points. I think these are going to be pretty controversial. I know that there are some people that would say that Heretics should be above FaZe, which is definitely arguable, but I think it's kind of close. Obviously, they did take them down at the tournament. They knocked them out of the World Championship, but I think you can kind of go either way on that one. Look, Surge were the only team to put a challenge to OpTic, so understandably it's going to look something like this. Yeah, Thieves, they bombed out in 8th place. Do I expect that to happen again? No. Do I still think Thieves were a better team than Boston despite losing to them round 1? Yes. If you play that series a load of times, if Thieves actually prepared as they should have done. look, at the end of the day, Thieves coming top 8 does not make them a top 8 team, but what it does mean is that they were just, it was an absolute disaster class of preparation in that month for 100 Thieves, because they knew full well how Boston were going to prepare, and they didn't adapt at all. I thought it was pretty embarrassing, but we'll see if they can actually adapt after another few weeks going into the World Cup. FaZe, Heretics, Breach. Movistar, by the way, is Toronto, so they're 7th in our list, but pretty much out of all of those teams, 7th and up, you can go pretty much either way on a few of those positions anyway. Then you get to Cloud9, maybe with the new Gwinn addition, best of the rest possibly. Could they be the 8th best team? Falcons in 9th, Omit in 10, and G2 down in 11. So G2 is Minnesota Rocker, right? So this feels pretty harsh on Rocker, to be honest, but it's, of course, Kenny, Geo, and we thought they might have made a change, actually, to that team. There was a rumour about it, but it never happened. So Kenny, Geo, of course, Nero, and then Estriel rounding out the team after they got rid of Paul X earlier in the year. Are they going to be better than Omit? Challengers team, we've got Omit on our list anyway, better than a couple of the pro teams. And probably would have been better than Ravens had they been going, right? Just because they've been a bit of a mess. Gentlemate made a change, they go down into D. So, yeah, Falcons 9th, and then, of course, the Challengers teams, the other Challengers teams, towards the bottom of the list, P7, War, Orchid, and Five Fears in the F tier, or just slightly better than that. So, yeah, we'll see. Like, the Omit team, it's going to be exciting to see how they get on. They may still be grouped up, though, with FaZe and Heretics, which is going to be a bit of a challenge for them. But, of course, that's Craze, Mumba, Vivid, and Mac, which have been, they've been doing some damage in the Challenger scene as of late and won the Challengers World Championship and the tournament before that as well in Dallas. But let's talk about this drama, really, with Dashy discussing some roster changes going forward. They dropped an episode of the OpTic podcast, and Dashy had his bucket hat on, and he was talking about a few things, namely some potential roster changes. So the OpTic guys were kind of discussing, okay, if FaZe were to make a change, what would it look like? Would they actually blow up the trio? Would they decide to get rid of Drazah and bring in another 4th man? And Scump says that, yeah, maybe you could do that. But if you do, you're running the risk of the same thing happening again when you make the change and then all of a sudden you find out that going into the new season there are still some cracks there under the surface, which is maybe not where you want to be. The other alternative could be to blow the whole thing up, but Dashy was definitely talking about just Rostermania full stop and says he reckons after the World Cup things are going to get very interesting. And certainly talking about the Los Angeles Thieves, it seems as well, after a difficult World Championship, what they are going to do. Okay, sure, they won the last 2 events of the regular season, the last 2 majors of the regular season, but that does not mean by any means that they are going to be sticking it out necessarily, especially if there are options on the market. So, yeah, listen to what Dashy has to say and then kind of wonder, okay, is he coming to this realization having talked with a couple of the players? We know that he gets on pretty well with someone like Scrap on the Thieves team. Maybe he's had a couple of words to say, look, if things don't go to plan of the World Cup, then what are you going to do about it?
And then Cell was joined their team like the following year, but they haven't like.
Oh yeah,
that's got to be like, imagine from Simp's POV, like he hasn't played with anybody else that like another sub duo that wasn't aBeZy.
I mean, he had to, he hasn't had a reason to. That's a pretty good sub duo to kick your career off with.
Yeah.
I got
The
aBeZy.
grass isn't. It's not always greener on the other side.
No, it's not. It's a big risk. Big risk.
It's a pretty big risk.
My question is.
I mean, it is.
My question is, who do they? Let's go down the line, okay? Who do they? Simp, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's just like he's like hard stuck on that. Even I don't think he even wants to leave. I don't think Abe would want to leave. I don't think any of them want to leave except for the third, right? It'd be Drazah. In my opinion, it'd be Drazah in this thing.
Why? Yeah, well, that's kind of what I think.
Who
Why
do you get for Drazah?
Why
Who
would
do you get
not...
for Cellium?
I feel like you just keep rotating that 4th out. That's what I would say. Like,
it's not us.
You're on your 3rd one. Let's go.
It's not
try
us,
that
bro.
4th one out.
No, it's definitely not us. But okay, let's just pretend that it's Drazah. Drazah goes to Cloud9 or where, or Toronto, right? They go movie star core.
They try to.
Who do they get? Beans?
No, like
who?
Sib.
Sib?
I don't fucking know. I'm trying to think of shooters.
Why you say it like that?
No, I didn't.
Listen, I was hearing of some rumors. I'm not gonna leak on the podcast. You know what I mean? But
Well, tell us, and
It's
we'll
gonna
just
be
cut it. Matt,
it's gonna
cut
be
the
an
podcast.
interesting
On a scale of
offseason.
1 to 10, like how crazy is it going to shake things up?
I think this offseason is gonna be pretty crazy.
Really?
Fuck.
Yeah, exactly what you think
These
it's gonna
blue-
be.
Not for us.
What about
Yeah,
these boys
we're-
next door?
Oh, these guys next door? Yeah, no, they're sticking. They're sticking.
Why'd you say it like that?
Those guys are good. I do think EWC matters though, for sure, a little bit.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think if FaZe wins again, I mean, it might happen again. It's like the little Band-Aid. Your ship's leaking, but boom.
And it's not
Fire
wrong.
that shit
and
up,
it's
boom.
not wrong. And it's not wrong. And it's not wrong.
But then another crack shows next year.
Yeah.
And then one more over here.
So yes, Thieves tops the regular season standings, but it's funny to look at, right, that if you look at these regular season standings, yes, OpTic made plenty of changes during the regular season, but if you go down the list, FaZe are likely to change after the World Cup. I would say very likely. Toronto, they've already made a change going into the World Cup. Surge, we shall see, but I think it's definitely possible they do something. Heretics, they may not decide to. I think Heretics, they might be forced to if someone like Rencor gets poached, which is not impossible. It would be a disaster for Heretics if that happens, and you know, obviously they're trying to keep hold of him, but if I don't know, if I'm a top team, and Heretics arguably are a top team, but if I'm one of these other top teams, I'm definitely thinking, like, Rencor speaks good English, he's a good personality, credible talent, like, you know, there's lots of reasons why maybe Rencor could get poached away. I wouldn't rule that out entirely. Ravens have already blown up their whole org. OpTic are going to stick. Boston, as we know, like, okay, they've done very well, but they might not even be in the league as an organisation next year. Rocker are not keeping their roster for the next season, that's for sure. And then Cloud9 have already made a change, Dentimate have already made a change, Falcons have already made a change, and they might well do more after the World Cup. But the question comes back to Thieves, right? Yeah, they topped the season standings. FaZe, last year, top 6 at Champs, won EWC. This year, top 6 at Champs, again. They might win EWC, but is it really going to matter? For Thieves, it's an interesting question because this team was formed with, you know, to be a super team, and I do think that Envoy and Ghosty are incredible counterparts to what HyDra and Scrap bring to the table. I think it's difficult to upgrade on Envoy or Ghosty, but it's impossible to upgrade on Scrap or HyDra. So if you're Thieves, it does create a question. If they bomb out at the World Cup, their prep for Champs was not good. It didn't work. They got beat by Boston and then knocked out of the tournament in the very next round by the Vancouver Surge. And maybe if Dashy's theory is correct, there is a world where if FaZe, you know, blow it up and make changes, maybe Thieves would think about what that could mean for them in terms of whether a change for them could be on the cards. Because let's be honest, if Thieves end up the season finishing like top 8, top 4, difficult to justify that keeping that roster at the 2 biggest prize money tournaments of the year is the way to go, especially if they're not, you know, they're not going to be happy with those results, and that might well push things in a certain direction. So intrigue your thoughts in the comments. Dashy implies, yeah, you know, we're not going to get involved, it's going to be fine. But again, if Simp is available, it does raise questions as to what OpTic even might need to consider doing in that scenario, just because, you know, imagine a world where Simp goes to Thieves or something, or I don't know. It's just an interesting idea anyway. What's going to happen after the Esports World Cup? But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.